Hello and welcome to Get Into Games on Air, a podcast about board games and the people who play them. I am Craig. I almost forgot that. And joining me as always is Rebecca.
Hello.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm Rebecca today.
Yes.
Not Becky.
But also joining us on this delightful episode 35, which, if you add 35 and 35, you pretty much have 69 anyway. It's Nick from Board Game Review UK. Hello!
Hello, everybody.
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm mega, thank you, and all the better for seeing your lovely faces beaming back at me over the internet.
Oh, thank you very much. That's it. Your check is in the post.
Thank you.
Yes, so in today's episode, we are having a good old chat with the wonderful Nick from Board Game Review UK, the #1 Google searched board game review website in the UK. I'm going to say that. I think that's accurate. Is that accurate? That is accurate.
It's accurate some of the time. It depends which ones. But yeah, no, it goes well. Google seems to like me. Google seems to like me.
We're gonna chat. We're gonna chat all things reviews. We're gonna talk a bit about how reviews are done and how people enjoy them, whether they enjoy them more over video or written, that kind of thing. We're gonna deep dive into Nick. We're just gonna We're gonna get deep into Nick. We're just gonna work. We're going to work our way into the tissue and work out what makes Nick tick.
Oh,
I don't know what I've signed up for here. I mean, I'm excited, first and foremost. I'm only human. But secondly, I thought that was, okay, well, deep dive away.
Okay, well, as always, first things first, we are going to get to know you a little bit better before we ask you more questions to get you know you even more better.
It's not even a word, Craig.
It is. I've said it. It must be a word.
Just making stuff up.
We're going to do quick fire questions, so I will hand over. Quick fire, yeah. First thing that comes to your head, or
Bananas.
Correct answer.
Okay.
I'm off the mark with one. Brilliant.
First board game you ever played?
I mean, it was probably something terrible as a kid. I remember as a child playing Othello a hell of a lot. That was a solid family favourite. I remember Dinosaur. Oh, what was that dinosaur one with the guns and the revolvers? Lost Valley of the Dinosaurs.
Oh.
I remember playing that as a kid. That was sort of the most what we would consider board game I used to play. Used to get destroyed at Scrabble, destroyed at Monopoly. But yeah, Othello was probably the one game that I've carried on playing later into life.
I think we've still got a copy of
I love Othello, yeah, it's good.
First board game you bought?
Oh, probably Ticket to Ride, which wasn't for me.
Oh.
I bought that for my brother-in-law for one of his birthdays. We played it, we loved it. And then on the back of that, I bought Carcassonne. So for me, Carcassonne, would be that. I mean, actually, I probably bought Payday when I was in my 20s.
I love Payday.
So if we want to go with that, I could say that one. But
most expensive board game you own?
Probably Everdell, the complete collection. That was eye-wateringly expensive.
Was that more expensive than Castles of Burgundy?
I don't know.
Oh.
Was it?
I don't know. I'm asking you.
You have them.
But surely you buy one big box board game, you get the other one free, right? I assumed it was just free when I put in all my credit card details.
Yeah, of course.
They just sent it to me. Oh, that is a great question. I actually don't know which was more expensive. I assumed it was Everdell. But then I did go quite deep, to use Craig's words, into Castles of Burgundy. And so, that probably did hurt the wallet quite a lot as well. But both were sanctioned purchases. They were not smuggled through the front door. They were permitted purchases.
What's the best bargain of a board game you've got?
I don't have any bargain board games. I seem to pay the wrong price at the wrong time for all sorts of them. Let's go with this then. I would say Similo is my best value board game. I have
Okay.
played that probably the most times, and it's like £10 for a deck of cards. So that's probably my best value. It's probably close to a penny a play at the moment.
Nice.
Nice.
Cool. Player colour.
Whatever's left over. I'm a grown up.
Some people get really.
Yeah, no, I deem those people as children, and so I let my children go first and pick the colours, and I'm a grown-up, so I'll have whatever's left at the end. I do not understand player colour. I do understand player colour to a degree, because if you're always playing and you change colour and then you go, I'm so used to being this colour. But no, I get whatever is left over, and I'm delighted with it.
Okay. Favourite player count?
4.
So which member of the household do you say you can't play today? I'm sorry.
It depends on the game, doesn't it?
That wasn't one of the quickfire questions. You're okay. You're in the clear on that one.
You don't have to answer.
But I like 4. I think a lot of the games that play well at 4 are a lot of my favourite games. I do enjoy 3-player count, and I enjoy 2, and I do enjoy 5. I think once it gets past 5, I start to get a bit itchy around the chin and come out in a rash and sort of think this is too many players for a game.
Yeah.
Some games work well with that, and it's fine as a one-off. But no, I think 4 is a lovely sweet spot that you have just enough time to think about your turn before it comes back round to you. Most games work well.
Shop in store or online?
There's not really very many friendly local game stores to us, so it's online.
Okay. Photos or reels?
Photos.
Mm-hmm. Best convention you've been to?
UKG.
Mm-hmm. A convention you'd like to go to?
One of the American ones. I'd really like to go and see some of the American friends I've made on Instagram, so I'd love to go to America.
Furthest you've been to play a board game?
Brunei, Malaysia.
Nice.
Hardest review to write?
Complex games. Anything that's heavy, just because there's so many layers to pick out and unravel.
Most pimped out game you own?
Castles of Burgundy. Oh, no, well, actually, hang on. I'm going to rewind that slightly, if I may. Instantly, I went Castles of Burgundy, but that came fully pimped. Wingspan, however, I've done the most pimping a la Pimp My Ride.
Okay.
I pimped my board game. Wingspan has got the most additional external upgrades to it.
Nice. Biggest board game purchase regret?
Oh, probably countless. What's the biggest one I regret? Oh, I backed Beadville Carnival on one of the crowdfunding platforms. I can't remember which. And that was beautiful, but left me stone cold, and it was quite expensive.
Oh, no.
But I did sell it. I got my money back, and some other poor soul is thinking exactly the same thing.
Digital or print?
Print.
Cup of tea or cup of coffee?
Cup of tea.
Yeah. Best board game to play with kids?
How old are the kids?
I don't know. Your kids?
They range.
I love the game I really want to play again with my children that I haven't played for a while is Karuba, the Habba game. I'm going to go with that.
Your favourite Calyx cube?
I like my Shelf of Shem. It's a play on Shelf of Shame, and it's all my Shem Garfield games, Shem Phillips games, all on one shelf. And I only like it for that name. That's why it's my favourite. There's other cubes with better games on, but just the play on words of Shelf of Shem makes that my favourite cube. Although I do also have, a cube which had all 3 centuries and Carcassonne on, and it was my Shelf of Seas, and at the bottom was Wreck Raiders, because that was under the seas. And that's how I organise my board games.
Nice. Favourite board game to teach?
Oh, I'm thoroughly enjoying. It's hit the table a lot this week, and it's a new to me game. But I love teaching it. It's been really fun to teach Rebirth.
I've seen that a lot this week.
Yeah, well, it's just delivered after its Kickstarter, so that's why you're seeing a lot. But historically, other than that, I love teaching a game called Catcharoo, which is also known as Kangaroo.
Oh.
I only like it. I mean, it's stupidly silly, and it's like an end of night game tradition for us. But I adopt an Australian accent for it for the whole thing, from the teach through to the end.
Oh wow!
And for that reason, I like teaching that. But everyone's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm there, just having fun with it.
That sounds cool. A game you dread teaching?
Oh, there is one. Actually, it might. Wreck Raiders is one I don't enjoy teaching, and there was another one recently that I went, I don't want to teach that. I've got bored of teaching it, but I actually can't think what it was. I'll come back to that.
Yeah, fair enough. They were all my questions.
Oh, they were very good questions. I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
cool. Good. Okay. Right. Well, we've definitely got to know you a little bit better. But please introduce yourself in a way. Let people know who you are and what you do, what your website is, and that kind of thing, and when you started gaming.
Oh, I hate talking about myself. That's a real stitch up. I have just thought it's. But going back to your last question, it's Quest for El Dorado. I love Quest for El Dorado. It's so good, but I have found it really hard to teach new players now to be competitive because I've played it so often.
Oh.
And so I find I'm spending my time talking about cards and why you should go for them, and because I know what I would do, and I've sort of got bored. I really just want to play that with people who know how to play, so we're more competitive. I think it's not I dislike teaching it. It's just it's now that I've played it so often, it's hard to teach and get people up to speed. Yeah. Sorry. Hi, I'm Nick. Hiya. Most people know me as Boardgamereviewuk on Instagram, which is a proper tarty name, just to make sure Google finds me. I have a website. It's boardgamereview.co.uk. And I'm sort of sporadically on other things, but generally not. My main route to market is Instagram and the website.
How long have you been doing your website now?
Some time. I just had an Instaversary. It's been going 1 year less than Instagram. I started Instagram in October. Did I just?
It's 5 years. You put. I think
it was 5 years. Yeah, 5 years in October. I've been doing Instagram. So that means in February it will be 5 years of doing my website.
Oh, cool.
So I started in October on Instagram, and then after I was thinking about the website, and at Christmas I went, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this myself. Because I was reviewing for another popular online games retailer before going out on my own.
What made you make the Instagram account?
My origin story.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm not
want that radioactive spider to bite you.
It was a radioactive spider that bit me, but it came in the form of someone who was running the aforementioned bloggers of the popular retail website, who I don't think particularly liked me, I think it's fair to say. I realise I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and I am an acquired taste, so I hold no grudge there. But I was writing reviews for them, and they always asked for photographs, and I was taking photographs of the board games and sending them in with my reviews, and they were publishing my reviews, and they were replacing my photos with stock images of the games. Everyone else was getting their images put in, but mine were always just replaced with stock images. And I was like, am I really this bad at taking photographs of board games? And so I went, fine, I'm going to just put some photos on Instagram and see if I get some likes, just to prove myself that I'm not awful at taking board game photos. And then within 3 days, I got sort of 100 followers. And when I said to Cheryl, I said, one day I might get 100 followers. Look, there's huge accounts like Small Fries Games and these people, Moving Meeples. I could aspire one day. I might even get 100 followers after a few years. And I did that in 3 days. So then I was like, I've ticked off all my target. I've ticked off everything I could possibly want to do here. So now I can just have fun.
Yeah. That's really cool. I can't believe they were taking
crazy.
Changing your images for stock images. What?
As I say, I don't. The this particular company, when I was there, I don't know, I'm sure it's all changed. And someone else moved in after the person that I didn't like me, and it got much better, and it was a very happy atmosphere. I hasten to add, they're not all bad, but there was one person who just obviously didn't like me. It was funny because they used to do it where the incentive, you didn't get free games, you got entered into a raffle to win a voucher, which you could spend on their store, which is hugely exciting, as you can imagine. I was writing with this chap for about a year, must have been about a year, might have been a bit less. Let's say 7-8 months. Don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. That's what I should remember. But I only won the raffle once, and I got third prize on a month it was mathematically impossible for me not to win a prize.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sure it was drawn at random, but it just felt a little like... and then a new person came in and I started winning because I was writing loads of reviews, so I was getting loads of entries into the hat, and I was like, funny that.
Can you remember what your very first review you ever wrote was?
Yeah.
Which one?
It was Cards Against Humanity.
Mm.
But you said you did board game reviews, and that's not a game.
It was, in my defence, for a company. I think you give Cards Against Humanity a hard time. With the right crowd.
Yes, I do.
Yes, you do. And one day I'm going to make you sit down and play with cards that I've handwritten, and that makes the game a little bit more tasty.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah. It also will never be shared on Instagram.
Yeah, no. Or shared anywhere.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Oh my goodness me.
Yeah,
right, so reviews. So you started up your review website.
Yeah.
You went off on your own.
For a little while, part of my whole sphere of things I've done as hobbies, I used to build websites. And so I knew I could build a decent website out of Board Game Review. And so I thought, right, had a body of work that I'd already created that I could transfer over from blogging for the other people and just tinker and adjust. And I wanted to break away because when there's a whole pool of reviewers, you don't get the same consistency of opinion.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, Taskmaster can be rated 100%, as it was at that time. And I'm like, Taskmaster isn't the best game in the world. You know, this is your number one review, and Taskmaster's a fun party game, but it isn't Castles of Burgundy, it isn't Wingspan, it isn't Raiders of the North Sea. I'm sorry, I can't sort of give credence to these reviews if there isn't some level of... So I thought, well, if I do it myself, then there's only me to argue with, only me to sort of set that standard. So yeah, I went alone and republished some of those, rewrote other new ones, and then never really looked back and went, actually, I only want to do this for me. I don't need to do it for someone else.
Yeah. So how do you go about, how you set up your reviews, what you think's important for people to know in a review? How did you go about deciding those?
I think I left out all the good bits, but they were quite hard to write. So. No, I did it how I enjoyed consuming written reviews. So I enjoyed a little introduction, which gives me a little bit of creativity and just allows me to be a bit more fun. I try not to dwell on setups and how to plays too much. I rather like giving what I call a sketch map of it. Not getting bogged down in the detail, but just going, this is sort of the things you're going to do, and just to give people a flavour. Then sort of tell them how I feel playing it, and then just give a final... Oh, and I love talking about components and how it looks on the table, because that's really important to me personally. I know they've got photos so they can see that for themselves and make their mind up, but I like to sway them that this is the best art out there. And then I go on to the final thoughts. And quite often I throw in what the kids thought too, just a sentence from them, just because I think it's nice to hear what a 10-year-old thinks of it if they played it. And that's...
Yeah.
Also, like if you enjoyed this, you often do like if you enjoyed this, you will enjoy this sort of game. It's quite a nice little.
That's nice to hear, because I didn't think anyone ever got that far down the page. I really do. You never know, do you? You just go, oh, Google sent me some stats. I know how many people visit, and but yeah, you never actually sort of go. actually get to the bottom of that page?
So
Now I've added a too long didn't read bar right under the start, so they can just jump to the final thoughts and skip all that other stuff. Because like, people probably can't be bothered to read all this rubbish.
Oh.
So what sort of percentage of your reviews do you prefer reviewing games that you've bought with your own money, or reviewing things that you get sent to review?
I have no bother either way. I would like to increase the ones I've bought ratio, because I know there is a stigma attached to a company giving a review a game. I'm sure we're going to talk about that more. But I don't let that sway me any more than something else. In fact, it works both ways, doesn't it? I could spend 70 quid on Beeville Carnival and go, I've paid 70 quid for this trash. So it's not, or I could pay money for it and go, I love this game but I don't. I sort of am in a fortunate position where the money side of it isn't as important to me in that way. I know it isn't like that for everyone, and that's one thing that I really always like to remember, is that you are making recommendations, and those recommendations do have, I guess, a responsibility to them.
Yeah.
If I say, this is a good game, and you'll never find me going, you must buy this game, it's that best game ever, because it probably isn't for you, it might be for me, and that might be my opinion, but I never think anyone needs to buy a board game. It's not bread, it's not water, it's not clothes, it's not the important stuff in life. They're a luxury item, so you don't need to buy anything. And there are plenty of good games out there, and you can probably survive on having, you could probably survive with one board game. 10 would be a luxury.
Yeah.
You don't need to own them all. So that, I'm very careful with that responsibility of being a reviewer and saying, look, slow down, just read this, see if you like it. I never give you I'll tell you if I don't like it, and I'll tell you if I don't like it regardless, but I'm less likely to take things on that I don't think I'm going to like, is the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think everyone goes, well, that's surely, why aren't you playing games you don't like and reviewing those? Because I don't want to play it 10 times to find out that I don't like it and learn it, knowing that every play this is miserable. I mean, there's so many great games out there. Why would I possibly go, let's play something trash?
Yeah. So you mentioned playing it 10 times. So roughly how many times would you play a game before you were willing to review it? Do you have a set amount of times, or just depends on the game?
It depends on the game. Let's be honest, some party games you can get a good feel for after a handful of plays. Something more strategic, you need lots of plays under your belt before you can even begin to pick and unravel and just synopsize it down into a nice little piece. I do like to play it at the different player counts. I don't always play solo, I hasten to add. That's not something that I think there's better solo reviewers out there than me, so I only add that in if I really have done it. But I like to play it at 2 or 3 or 4, all the different player counts, and see that it does work. So I guess you've got the number of player count plays.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, we all make a rules gaff from time to time on our first playthrough, or even the second and third. And so I like to make sure that I really have got the rules sunk in before I disseminate that knowledge and form an opinion, because a rules gaff can affect the whole game.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Make it good or bad, or, and you just go, right, now I want to play it again. And also, there's a moment in every game, I'm sure you guys have this as well, there's a moment in every game where either during the teach or just during the game, a light bulb moment happens, and the game clicks and comes to life, and you go, okay, yeah, now I get it. Yeah. Now I get why the designer's done this or why it's done that. And sometimes you don't get that till quite late in the play, and then another play you'll get to grips with that. And so I guess it's not really answering your question, but I would say I've rarely reviewed a game I've played less than 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, I've just done Cities review I published today on my website, or yesterday. That I played 8 times, I would say. So, and in quite a short space of time as well. I try and cram the plays in together so it's all fresh in my mind when I put pen to paper.
I think it's really important, isn't it, I feel that it's important that if you're reviewing something, you have played it. multiple times, because like you said, it's not possible to know all the ins and outs and the little, nuances in the game necessarily if you haven't played it quite a few times. And I think it would be doing a disservice to the game if you just, sort of...
Yeah. And you can really tell when someone's never played a game and they're suddenly reviewing it, like, or making some kind of content, whether it's videos, written, whatever. You can just tell. And then there's that level of kind of almost honesty with the people that are watching. If you've got a following and people are looking at you and you're like, yeah, this game's great, and you can just tell, like, as a gamer, you can tell, like, someone like I can tell if someone's not played the game by what they're saying, but not everyone can do that. So there's that lack of honesty. It's that level of trust.
I've seen some really popular YouTubers, some of the best, make gaffes. And you think, well, you just haven't played that enough to be doing this. And I find that, like you say, it's a bit of a disservice to the people watching. It's a little bit of a disservice to the game, and it's also a little bit of disservice to themselves. Because, okay, we pick up on that, but a lot of people don't, and would buy or not buy a game based on what you're saying. And I think that responsibility is often overlooked, even right down to the, micro-influencers on Instagram and that sort of thing. It's actually really important that you realise that someone is going to possibly dip into their back pocket, spend money that they've worked a couple of hours potentially or more to go and buy a game based on what you're saying. So that's why I love things like the First Impressions Friday hashtag on Instagram. I love that. And I'm always there and I'm always giving an opinion, but everyone knows that's just my first impression. I'm not saying it's a curated, it's my gut reaction. And we do have a really good level of gut reaction. And I'm sure you do too. You play a game and you go, oh, okay, yeah, I want to play that again. Or, oh, okay, that was fine. And I think actually that brings me on to another point about reviewing that I think is hard, that a lot of games are good. A lot of games are fine. A lot of games are actually what we would deem mediocre, and yet for some reason that has a stigma attached to it being negative as well.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a 6 or a 7 out of 10. Oh.
Yeah.
It's a 6 or a 7 out of 10. Okay, It's not 10 out of 10. It's not a 9 out of 10, but 6 or 7 out of 10. You're going to have some fun with this. And I think ratings in numbers are obviously subjective anyway, but I just think there's a lot of people that don't just go, it's a good game. I enjoyed it. It was fine. Do I love it? No. Will I play it? Yeah, quite happily. I'll quite happily play it. But it's an okay game. People find that really hard to say.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's like you do fall in the trap. Like even I've said, oh, this is a great game. And do I mean it's a great game? I mean, it's a good game, but is it what makes a great game? But it's an awkward one because it's like, it's just, I don't know what I'm trying to say now.
The words are really powerful, right?
Yeah, but you're not.
You can overuse the same word, and actually, that's not what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like obviously there are well-known accounts like out there, and one of them is always this amazing game. It's like if something's amazing, it's like almost the best thing ever. Yeah. They can't all be amazing, but also you're allowed to enjoy them. You don't have to be like this is trash. I want to hear people having fun with something, and there is something that everyone will enjoy. As we said, Cards Against Humanity, there are people that enjoy that, and they're allowed to be wrong. But
I enjoy Cards Against Humanity. I haven't played it probably for 4 years. And I will only play it when I'm steaming drunk with people that don't play board games, or who I know very well enough that they won't phone the police when they read out some of my homemade cards. But I'm not going to pull out Cards Against Humanity offer. And actually that brings me, I did a Coffee Rush review, and I'm just checking what I actually said about Coffee Rush, because for me it was an okay game. Yeah. It was fine.
We played it. I was really excited about it. Really thought this is going to be so. I love it. The little components and everything. Put it in the coffee cup. I actually found that was just distracting from the game because you put it in the coffee cup and then you get it out of the coffee
Only
cup.
take it back out and put them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God, I couldn't be bothered with that.
I said about Coffee Rush in my summary. Coffee Rush is bang average in terms of gameplay, yet beautiful. It's a fun novelty for the lighter board gamer. And I think that's really fair that it is bang average in terms of gameplay. But everyone, there's a lot of people giving that game a heck of a lot of love. And if it was styled differently, you wouldn't even have mentioned its name.
No.
But it's got cute little coffee cups and cute little bits of chocolate and tea leaves and great, brilliant marketing. It's, I'm afraid, a bang average game.
Yeah, it is, and it's sold on that look, and then the actual, like you said, like putting all the things in the cup to immediately take them out of the cup.
That was pointless.
Yeah.
It's a
And
card.
I gave it a 6.5 out of 10 because I think that's where it sits. It's not a bad game. I'm not saying it's awful. It's just average, and that's okay because a lot of people have fun with that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So going back to, touching on negative reviews, I'm really conscious that it's still somebody's sort of, they've had the inspiration to make it. They've gone through all the trouble of, getting it published and going, like we've got friends who are making games at the moment, and how much trouble that is, that I don't want to like immediately trash someone's game because of the amount of effort that has gone into it. Do you ever find that?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I'm going to be more likely to say to an independent, look, this needs a lot of work. I'm not the person to give you that work, but equally, I'm just not going to review it. Do you want me to forward it on to someone else? Do you want me to do something with it? And I would I'm probably the worst at giving slightly candid feedback and going, this just didn't work. Yeah. Oh, okay. And sometimes they take it on board. Sometimes they ignore me completely, and both are equally fine. I understand that. Because, I ignore myself. So they most definitely should. But I've written negative reviews, and I think my favourite and most famous one is Enchanted Forest from Ravensburger.
Great game of all time.
I like that game.
Yeah, you're wrong, but that's fine. Everyone's got their own opinion, even if it's the wrong one. It's a painful game, and you're joking about Cards Against Humanity, and you like Enchanted Forest. Anyway. Apart
that's why it's so subjective, right? Because it depends on the person.
Yeah, no, it is subjective, but actually in Enchanted Forest it's not. You're just wrong.
Okay.
So, I'm teasing. But yeah, so I've written a big, I thought, let's write some negative reviews on my website so people get to see that I'm not just this person who only writes positive reviews. I quite enjoyed it with Ravensburger, and I feel like that one was a public service announcement that people should really realise this is a terrible game. And they've been hoodwinked through their childhood and thinking that there might actually be a game there. So yeah, I don't like that one. There's a couple of others that I would love to pen a warning review of. One springs to mind, Magic Maze for Kids. I think that is an awful game. Probably created by Satan himself, so I don't feel bad about damning it. Because if anything is ever going to cause an argument between kids, it's that game. You do your move. You do your move. Why are you doing the move you should make? Because I think you should go this way. Oh, God, that is hell in a board game. So I might write a review of that one day when I've got a little bit of someone's annoyed me at work, and I'm going to go, right, I am writing a review of Magic Maze Kids today. That will learn them. But yeah, I get it. Independents, I think, require more feedback. But if this game has been published and they are expecting people to part with money, then if it doesn't reach a standard, then unfortunately people sort of have to know. But more often than not, that game is just average or just okay. It's not that it's bad.
Yeah. Does it ever damage your relationship with publishers, when you post a negative review, or it doesn't?
I posted my review of Enchanted Forest before, but now I have worked with Ravensburger subsequently.
Yeah. I think they probably...
I guess it does. It probably does. But equally, it probably doesn't. I mean, I know some famously and very heroically, people like Jamie Stegmaier don't read the reviews.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's true or not. He says it is, and that's fine. But I bet there's a little part of him that sometimes dips in and reads them out of sheer curiosity.
I think there's a team that probably look at them because there was something happened with one of the reviews, and then he got told about the review, and then he had to then step in because. But so he's got a team around him.
Yeah. Okay. So he may not read them, but he.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't, like I say, I've been doing this reviewing for longer than 5 years, and I have a really good feel for what I like or what I'm likely to like. And yes, there are some disappointments. Coffee Rush, I got lured in by everyone going, "This is brilliant, this is fun," and me go, "Hang on a minute." It's perfectly fun, but it's average. I'm not just picking on Coffee Rush. It's just a prime example of people getting carried away by good looks and not seeing the gameplay beneath that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know what I was saying either now. So you'll have to come in with another question. I'm sorry.
Where do you stand on the whole like paid versus buying your own gear? Because there's a lot of controversy over. Well, I'm not sure whether it's controversy, but people talk a lot about
It's like
if you've been paid
bias
to do it, maybe you'll write a more glowing review than you actually want to because they're giving you money to do it or they're giving you the game to do it. Where do you stand on all of that?
I love getting my £500 per review. Who's getting paid for reviews? I mean, good luck to them, frankly. No, I really find that difficult. It sits badly with me. A free game is a £30 game or £40 game or even a more expensive game, but it's still just a game that I play.
Mm-hmm.
And for that, I have to play it, let's say, 5 to 10 times. I have to learn the rules. I have to take photos of it. I have to put pen to paper. I spend 2 evenings writing a review, 1 evening putting it all up online. And I'm doing that for a free game worth 30 quid. And quite often now I go, no, I don't want the free game. Thanks very much. Because I'd rather play a game I want to play rather than have to learn this because it doesn't sound like my cup of tea. I don't think you can stay impartial and take money.
Yeah.
I have no problem. Rodney Smith doing a how to play video. He deserves every penny he gets. He's doing a fantastic job. There are people who photograph board games and get paid for it. Brilliant. You are using a skill and a trade to do that. If you're asking for an opinion, how can you physically put money in your back pocket and then go, that game was terrible?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you just can't do it. And I don't think that really doesn't sit right with me. I have never taken money for any of my reviews, or in fact, I've taken money for 2 pieces of content I put on my website that were not part of opinion, I guess.
Yeah.
Just 2 features. I got paid a little bit of money for the links. One was so there were two different companies, and that paid for the fees of my website for a year.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had 2 years free website hosting, licensing of themes, images, and all that jazz that goes along with having a website. I probably had almost 2 years free from 2 featured articles, but that's out of 5 years. So that means 3 years I'm massively out of pocket, and I'm still doing it. Do I think that it should change? Yes. I think if people enjoy consuming reviews and they don't want us reviewers to accept free games, then you have to support people via a Patreon or Patreon or Coffee or whatever they are. And people are actually going to have to start going, well, fine, I'll buy you a board game. But even if I did that and I had a Patreon and I don't, I'm not sure whether there's even a need for that. I'm probably more likely to end up on OnlyFans. Obviously.
If you get one of those smoking jackets, you will do. I tell you that much.
Oh, yes.
Now I've got a face for podcasts, so I'm very lucky in that regard. And sorry, that's got me. That's tickled me. No, I do not think you can physically pay for a review or an opinion. That does not sit well with me. Create other content. Good luck to you. You deserve it, especially if it's in video format and you've got editing and things. I respect you.
It's also interesting, I find, that in the States, stating that what's an ad compared to the UK, we seem very strict on this is an ad, this is an ad, this has been gifted, I have been gifted this. And it's sort of like you do a post and you say it like 6 times. By the way, this has been given to me. This is a gift. This is an ad. Whereas a lot of American influencers, content creators, whatever you want to call them, don't seem to do any of that, which is a bit strange.
I think they should. They should, and I think it's fine. But look, if a lot of them, and I've had this conversation because I've been a big champion of putting ad on things or using the paid partnership promotion on the top of the Instagram post, which is my favoured way of doing it now because it's there. I'm not being paid, but I've been given a game which is deemed as payment. Mm-hmm. You have to stop and ask yourself, if that's not, because they'll go, I'm not being paid, this isn't payment, I've just got a free game. If it's just a free game, ask yourself, why is that publisher or that designer sent you that game for free? Mm-hmm. Is it because they just love their game so much, they just want it to be out there in the world for everyone to enjoy? Or is it possibly that they think people will see it and then see you playing it and like it and go, oh, what's that? Because I have a feeling it is going to be the latter. I call me a cynic, but I think it's going to be the latter, that most people are only doing that to get their games out there and get them seen. And let's be honest, giving someone, I keep using 30 quid. I know board games can be expensive and they can be cheaper, but I'm using that as a stock price this evening, apparently. A £30 game is a lot cheaper than an advertising campaign in print, online, even with Google ads, So I'm sorry, it is paid promotion.
Yeah, 100%. I've recently been blocked on the Instagram machine by someone just because I asked them how it basically was about a game being similar to another game, and I said I was wondering how this was the same as this game, and then went and then I realised that this was an ad all along. Lol. Apparently that comment deserves being blocked, so I got blocked.
I'm sorry about that, but you just had to learn your lesson.
Yeah. I got you on the podcast, and now I'm doing it with you here.
Lucky, really. I will never block you.
Yeah.
Apart from maybe your car outside my house, so you can never leave and play games forever.
Yay!
It's a funny old thing. People can get quite uptight on Instagram. I think you and I don't generally allow those things to get to us. We're fairly happy-go-lucky people because our expectations of what we want to get out of Instagram isn't the same as other people's.
Yeah. So when you started, reviewing games and photographing them,
yes.
Basically, it was because we enjoyed playing board games. Yeah. And we just wanted to play board, and that is still the driving force. We just actually really love playing board games with people. And that's what we spend most of our time doing. And that's ultimately why we do this podcast, why you do your Instagram and things like that, just because we actually do enjoy playing games.
It's fun and it's to try and bring people into the hobby, because there's no point gatekeeping a hobby, because I find that's another thing, isn't it? It's like people are like, you're not playing heavy games, you're not a gamer. Like, no, it's about getting more people into the hobby, which is the most important thing, because if we don't get more people playing board games, then no one's playing board games, and then they go away.
It's much more simple than that for me, I think. The reason I do it is because I discovered board games quite late in life. I mean, I played board games as a kid, but modern hobby board games I discovered quite late in life. And I was just like, other people need to know about these. And I need to spread that far and wide.
Yeah.
And a lot of the content on my site isn't heavy games. Most of it are, I would say almost not all, but a huge proportion of it is family weight games. I play games with my family.
Mm-hmm.
Not exclusively, I don't. I come and meet up with people and we play different games. But I love a midweek game that takes no time at all to explain, plays in 45 minutes, but you feel like you've scratched your head a little and the grey cells have got working. I love that just as much as a heavyweight game. In fact, the heaviest game I played this year was Nucleum, and I wasn't clever enough for it. Other people were raving about it. I was like, I knew from the second turn that I was going to lose that game, and I had to sit there for 3 hours going through the motions to prove that I lost it.
Oh,
yeah. It was probably the most miserable time I've ever had playing a board game. It's not to say Nucleum's a bad game. It's just I wasn't clever enough for it, and that's fine. But I know my weight of game. I know where I want to be, and I know the sort of games I like playing.
So I want to quickly ask you about the choice to do the written format on your website, because obviously a lot of people are reviewing via photos, videos, etc. But I know you're quite keen on keeping the written word, and kind of talk to that a little bit.
Honestly, I would love to do it on YouTube. I really would, but I'm a one-take kid, and the editing of video really does drain me. That's not how I want to spend evenings.
Editing?
No, I know. That's sort of how I feel. So yeah, the YouTube thing I would love to do, and I don't. But I can. I've always enjoyed writing. I've unfortunately was taught in that golden era of English school teaching where they didn't actually teach you very well. And so my grammar is appalling. My spelling is passable, but only because I've taught myself. But yeah, punctuation, forming sentences is not what I'm good at. But I do like the writing experience. I've done a lot of writing throughout my career, and that sort of changed, and I couldn't do that so much. And so this was, I guess, some kind of cathartic, creative way of just keeping that going. And also, I'm not clever enough to know how to get YouTube to like my content, but I can I know what I'm doing with Google, so I can at least get that shown high up on the rankings and the ratings.
You do a very good job of it.
Yes.
I can tell you that.
I do. I don't know. It'd be interesting, just a question because obviously you know you and I know you and Becky knows you. When I read your reviews, I hear you. I hear your voice as I'm reading it, which is really interesting. But I kind of want to know someone who doesn't know you, what they see in your reviews. That'd be a really interesting thing, because it does come across as you.
I hope so. I hope I put a bit of character in it. It's hard because sometimes you're just talking about game mechanics, and it's really hard to be anything other than this is what you do. But I try and just inject a little bit of me into everyone. So that's nice that comes through, at least for you, the people that know me at the very least.
Yeah, so shall we move on a little bit from reviews?
I was just going to ask one question about review. Do you have you ever had, and do you ever have anyone who strongly disagrees with something that you've said, disagrees enough to say to you that they disagree with your opinion? And how do you deal with that, if they do?
I had one lovely example of this. I was really sweet, actually. I was at work, and it was my lunch break, and someone sent me a message and went, just read your review of the Genius Square. Okay, it's a little puzzle of a game. It's surprisingly fun. I like it actually quite a lot. But I was like, well, I gave it this, which is sort of, I can't even remember what I rated it, but like a 6 out of 10, 6.5 out of 10. I rated it quite highly, 7 maybe. I really enjoyed it. It was good. I thought, this is a fair, honest review. Well, I think it deserves a higher score than that.
Okay.
From the Happy Puzzle Company.
It wasn't. This is genuine. It wasn't from the Happy Puzzle Company, but they went. I went, okay. Well, I'm glad to hear you really enjoy it, but for me, there are other better games and better puzzles out there. Well, you're wrong. I appreciate your comments, but I have a barometer in my head of games and where they sit and how I formulate my opinion. And I think for a quick game like that, it's a really fun puzzle, but I think it could become repetitive over time with more plays. And so that sort of hindered it slightly as well. But I love the components. I love how chunky it is, and I have great fun playing it. Well, I played it lots of times and I still like it. Hey, I'm really pleased. I'm doing this all via text, but I'm really pleased that you've proved me wrong and that it does have much more longevity than I've given it credit for. But I still have played better games. Like what? Well, I mean, you can go to my website and see a whole list of games above it in the chart that I produce, and you can see exactly what I think is better than it. But equally, this is a really, subjective opinion. And if you found your favourite game, I am delighted that you have found that and you enjoy playing it. But my lunch break is over now. Say good day and let you go and enjoy playing the Genius puzzle.
Yeah.
And was that the end of that then?
That was never a word again. I don't think I got a follow out of him.
Blocked.
Probably. But it's really difficult because I love someone being passionate about a board game. I'm like, this is exciting, this is great, but I'm sorry, we just don't have the same barometer on this particular occasion. And I think that's something else people talk about with reviewing. I know you wanted to move on, but tough.
No, it's fine. Carry on.
You just can't. People go, there's a bias. They've got a bias. Yeah. It's not because I've been given a game. It's not because I've paid for a game. I've got a bias because there's some things that I like. And that is, sometimes I really love the artwork. Sometimes I love the gameplay. I like a bit of area control. I love a bit of worker placement. I'm a big fan of tile placement. And it's not from that. You are reading my reviews because you think you have a similar bias to me. Yeah. You like a family weight game. You're reading my review. If you read my reviews regularly, then you are aligning yourself with the same bias that I have. That you maybe don't want to play the really heavyweight games, or you enjoy playing games with your families, and so you are aligning yourself with the bias that I have, and that is okay. I'm not here to be neutral, but I'm also not here to say my opinion is the only opinion in the world, unless it's about Enchanted Forest. But yeah, so you just have to remember that is the case. I am biased. I have taste in games that I like more than others. But so do you, I'm guessing.
Yeah, exactly.
Some mechanics you don't like. And so you find yourself that not whether you trust your review, it's whether you align yourself with a reviewer you can A, trust, but B, that has a similar taste than you.
Yeah.
And sometimes there might be a mismatch, but you have to understand that actually it's not the reviewer's job necessarily to get it right for you all of the time, but you can go to several different reviewers and find out information for yourself. It's about that fact finding for yourself, isn't it? When you want to buy a game, perhaps you're looking at lots of different...
Yeah, I did a post about Rebirth, my first impressions. I said, I absolutely love this game. I really do. I absolutely love it. But also, I'm really aware this is actually a very me game. And I don't want the hype of me spoiling this game's enjoyment for you, because I think a lot of people just think it's fine, or it's okay, or it's good, or it's better than that. It's really good, or borderline great. But I was aware that it ticks a lot of the boxes for me personally, and so I was like, well, this is a game that I like because it is a very me game, and I don't want you rushing out or wishing you backed it on Kickstarter, because you might not actually... A lot of people won't feel the same as me about this one, but this is a me game.
Yeah.
It's like we've got Arcs, and everybody seems to love that, but actually we're like, it's a good game. It's like a 6-7 game, but it's not necessarily my favourite game of all time. It's not...
It is. It's... The as we've played it more, like you said earlier, about games like clicking the more you play it. Like yesterday when we were playing it, something clicked about what we were doing, and I was like, oh, okay, I understand now. But yeah, I still at the moment don't get everyone's massive raving and hype about it. But maybe another 4 or 5 plays down the line, I will.
So yeah, that's an interesting thing, isn't it? I hear this quite a lot. Oh, I need to play that more to know whether I like it or not. you probably got an idea of whether you like it or not after the first couple of plays. You do not need to slog away at a game that you do not. I'm not going to play Nucleum ever again. It wasn't for me, and I knew that after my first play, and I'm never going to go back to it ever because there are a gazillion more games that are much more likely to appeal on a second play, a third play, or even a first play than ever going back to that. It's not to say other people won't like it. Other people raved about it, and they were probably right to do so. But you are allowed to have your own opinion, and you are okay not to like something, and you don't have to play it 5 or 6 times just to go, oh, actually, no, I didn't like it. I thought it was going to grow on me, and I didn't. Don't do it to yourself. Move on. Get a different. You do find that out quite quickly, especially the more games you play, like us. Yeah. So you don't have to plug away at a game just to find that it's good. If it's not for you, it's not for you. There are some exceptions. Some games do unravel. I remember my first play of Viticulture left me a little cold. I was like, I don't see what all the fuss about is. This isn't. It was fun. I enjoyed it, but it was fine. It was good. Oh, and that really grated because then I was like, well, this is fine. This is good. And everyone went, oh, you need the expansion to make that a great game.
Oh,
well,
no.
why doesn't it come with the expansion in the box then?
Yeah,
that's fine. The expansion came later. I understand it. Same with Rocks of Ruin for Explorers of the North Sea. That made the game even better. It was a good game, made it even better. What annoys me is there's some games coming out now on Kickstarter. I don't know whether to name names. I'll get it. Navoria, Explorers of Navoria, Dranda Games. Love Dranda Games. I played that for the first time and I was like, that was fine. That was fine. There's a lot of flaws with it, in my humble opinion. The board design actually is, most of that is beautiful, but they've gone for not form follows function, quite the opposite of we're actually going to make this pretty at the detriment of you being able to see where the flags are that you have to pass or whose turn order it is, which is crucial to the game. We're going to make that really difficult to see by using this weird rondel on a really busy map where you're also going to have other pieces around that look really similar. I was like, Anyway, and then someone said, oh, yeah, but the expansion makes it brilliant. The expansion you had to buy with the Kickstarter. It's not like something that's come out after time. They knew that made the game good, and they packaged it in the Kickstarter. Yeah. And then had the audacity to go, and if you want to play it solo, you also need to buy the expansion. I'm like, just poor solo gamers have had to not just go ridiculously deep in their pockets to buy the game. They've now got to buy the expansion just so they can play it on their own.
Yeah.
Seems and what will they get? They're going to get a handful of cards and maybe a different rule book. This is morally wrong.
Yeah.
And but that is a great game if you have the expansion that came with it on Kickstarter. It should be in the bloody box.
Not an expansion, is it?
It's where they leave the space in the box and you know it's coming and you're like, well, you knew that it was coming because there's a space in the box for it. Like, what?
I think for us it was Endless Winter. Like Endless Winter it's fine. It's a table hog. It's absolutely fine. But it's like, but when it came to Kickstarter with all its whistles and bells, extra expansions for different mechanics and different things, it's like, well, that's just the game. You're selling the game in multiple parts. You're not selling a game and an expansion.
Because an expansion a woolly mammoth you had to buy separate.
I had to buy a woolly mammoth separate so I could play it 2-player because area control doesn't work without a woolly mammoth.
I think big plastic minis on a crowdfunding campaign is a big red flag for me.
Yeah.
If you're having to try and sell this on the back of minis ahead of telling me how the game plays, I'm losing interest already.
I was like, you wanted worms, didn't you?
Yeah, Worms was the one. I was like, I love because I grew up loving playing Worms when I was a kid, and it was just like, yes, absolutely want to get this. And then I was looking at the Kickstarter, and it was like the retail copy comes with these 12 worms. They're just worms, fine. But if you go all in, you get every worm with every weapon. And it's like, ooh, and it's only available on Kickstarter.
£300 later.
Yeah, you can never get all the worms unless you back the Kickstarter. So it's like, ooh, I won't buy any of it then. Bye-bye.
Amazing. There's a few examples of that. few examples.
Do you yourself get involved in the hype train? Do you get excited by people getting excited about certain games?
I stoke the fire. I choo. No, sometimes, yeah, and it's been to my detriment almost all the time. And I don't know. I've cooled considerably now. I will read a rule book before I back a game on Kickstarter now.
Mm-hmm.
I make sure I form my own opinion, and I get cross every time I don't form my own opinion. I get cross. And it happened actually with Cities. The other way around. I wrote a piece, as I do most years, about UK Games Expo, the fabulous thing up in Birmingham. And I write the games, and I sit here at my computer and I read about all the new releases and sort of formulate a list. Then on the press night, I run around like a what's it, taking photos, finding out more about the game, seeing it in the flesh, checking that and I formulated this list, and Cities was on that list. And then over the course of UKG, a lot of people go, "Oh no, it wasn't all that. It was just simple drafting, really light, not much to it, nothing there, not really a game there." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's a shame. I was looking forward to that." And so, yeah, I cooled, I calmed, and I didn't really pay any attention. But then I was lucky to have a games day with Brian and Ali, who always play Blue down in the South Coast near me. And they bought it. And I was like, "Oh, actually, yeah, no, I was excited for Cities." And they were like, "Well, we bought it because we really enjoy it and we think it's going to be great at 4-player and we only ever get to play 2-player." And so I was like, "Yeah, great, let's." And I really, really enjoyed it. And it was a good game. And it was sort of what I thought. And I got really, in fact, I think even in my introduction on the review, I said I got cross with myself for listening. And that's not the hype train. That's the opposite of it, of not letting myself form an opinion when I knew I'd done the homework and I knew that this was a family weight game that would appeal to me. And I think that is a problem quite often with games like Cities. Even after us last year at UK Games Expo, not last year, the year before, whatever it was, people were buying it just because it was the must-have game. I read about it. I knew it was family weight. I knew it wasn't this heavy game. I knew it was solo solitaire. That information was out there. And then I heard people going, "Oh, it's a bit solo solitaire, it's a bit light." I'm like, yeah, it was. It always has been. They've not portrayed it as anything else. And you're going, "No, it's not quite what I expected." What were you expecting then? Tell me, what did you read that made you think differently about this game? Yeah. And then people are, doing it down. And I'm like, that's not fair. That's your preconception of what you thought this game should be based on the box art
or the queue to get it in the morning.
Is it Phil?
It was to get it. The fact it's sold out made you go, "This must be an amazing game."
Is it Phil Walker Harding?
Which one?
Cities.
Yeah, and it's not known for a heavy game.
Yeah, exactly. Immediately you see Phil Walker Harding, you're like, "Oh!" But I think what's happened is it's because it's DeVere, and DeVere notoriously make heavier games. But then you've got Phil Walker Harding, who notoriously doesn't make heavy games. So which one do you think is going to win, the publisher or the designer? I would say it's the designer.
Yeah, that's a funny thing, isn't it? A lot of people go, "Oh, I love this publisher." But it's different. Some, obviously, there's Garfield games, there's Stone Mayer games where the designers are very close to the publishing house itself. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's a heck of a lot where they're just buying the next game off the next designer because they think it's good. There's not a theme running through it.
Yeah, like Hachette, they have seemed to knock the ball out of the park constantly with their game choices, but they're not designing any of them. They're just picking the right ones.
And even then, to be fair, they do an incredible job, Hachette, and you are right, they are knocking out the park. There's still a couple of duff games in their catalogue over the years. You can't, I'd love it if it was more. I'm trying to think of if you were doing it in a different way, but there's some actors where you go, "That's going to be a jolly good film. I have to go and see that. It's going to be, it might not be for me, but it's going to be a cinematic masterpiece." And then there's other directors where you feel the same. And then you get someone like Samuel L. Jackson, who you go, "Well, it could be good, or it could be a steaming turd." Because he doesn't have that barometer of saying no to things that he might not be any good in. And so, I think there's going to be that, even with designers, even with everything. There are going to be some that just slip through the net and go, "Oh, that missed."
Yeah. But I do, it's something I like about, sometimes there are some reviewers that their reviews are more based towards the negative aspects of games and being more grumpy about the game than the positive. Sometimes I like to watch those reviewers just to go, right, I know I disagree with you on everything, so I want to see how bad you think it is so I know whether to buy it or not. Because if you hate it, I'm getting it.
There are, I mean, let's be honest, negativity unfortunately does sell, especially on some other social media platforms. And yes, some people are doing very well out of being the hard-speaking, negative person about, and that will go up against a game just to cause a headline and get some clicks on their YouTube account. Fine, if it works for them. But the trouble is, again, they are misleading people.
Sorry. No, I was going to say, have you got the time to be doing negative? Like, if you want to spend your time doing negative, you say it takes you hours. It takes you 2 evenings to write it, and an evening to upload it. Would you want to spend time doing that if it was a negative review and it was a horrible experience? Like, you just wouldn't like.
They are quite fun to write. Don't get me wrong. I there is a little bit of me that loves being a bit mean and a bit controversial. But no, I haven't got the time to play it and do all those things. And that's why I think a board game reviewer is different when there's talking about payments. It's slightly different. If I'm going to a restaurant and having one meal and writing a review of that one meal, I've had 3 hours of my time and my tongue tickled with delights or misery. That is just one meal, one and done. If I go to the movies, I watch that movie once and I form an opinion of it. A board game, I've got to play it 2-player, 3-player, 4-player. I've got to set it up. I've got to check that I've got the rules right. Is there an advanced mode? Oh, okay, I should try that as well to see what that adds and what that doesn't add. And oh, Christ. And photographers have to do that too, and they have my absolute sympathy, board game photographers, because they've got to learn the game. They've got to know how to set it up and do it to get that photo. Yeah. Whereas actually, if they were just taking a photo of a mobile phone or a mug or some products, it's a click, one and done. No, nothing. Don't need to know anything about that mug other than that's what it looks like. So it is quite unique in that way as well, and I don't think it's fair to compare it to some of those other things where it's a little bit easier just to put pen to paper.
What would be your top tips for people getting into board game reviews?
You don't need to own them all.
I thought you were going to say, don't do it, it's MySpace.
If you want to do it,
I'm number one.
No, I'm certainly not number one. I give an opinion, and I'm pleased to do so. If someone wants to consume it, they can consume it. That's up to them.
Nick's number one.
It's not. But my top tip is don't get lured in with just saying yes. It's so easy to say yes to a free game because it's a free game, and if something's free, it's lovely. Actually, you could buy that game for $10 and you have to stop and ask yourself, would I buy this game for $10 and spend 2 evenings doing all this stuff and programming and blah, blah, blah for $10? You are nuts. So first off, the first game you get offered for free, you will say yes to without a shadow of a doubt, and you will be as excited as a schoolboy. But at Christmas, I should say, not just,
Yay, maths.
Yay, maths! No, excited as a schoolboy at Christmas. But yeah, you don't need to say yes to absolutely everything. I see some people and their games to play is, I'm going to say obscene, actually. It's horrific. And that must be either you just don't care at all and you just don't want to share content for that company, or it must become a burden. I only have, at any one time, I think about maybe 3 games that I have said yes to review. I don't say yes to it. Sorry, I'm full. I've got too much on. I can't do it. Plus, I want to add in some of the ones, that I have paid money for and add that into the mix too. So, yeah, that's it. You don't have to say yes to all the games, and you don't have to own them all. I don't know if you've heard, but there is alternatives to just rushing out and buying all the games.
Oh, he's doing your job for you.
Is there?
Yeah. So there is a thing that you can do. You could go to board game cafes and support lovely local independent shops. Enjoy a cup of coffee. Some people teach you games. Some people you just left to it. And it's brilliant.
That sounds like a really interesting idea, a board game cafe.
There are lots around the country, and there are, so go and check them out.
I hear there's
And
one
what's-
opening in Eastbourne soon, I think, or
Really?
something like that. Yeah.
It is. It's still a little bit too far away from me. But
Right.
anyway, so yeah, go and visit a board game cafe, and you can play a host of games, and sometimes even be taught them. So you don't have to go out and own all the games and play them yourself. There is also other options. Come along to things like UK Games Expo or Aircon, and you will find people playing games, and you might be able to sit down and join them. And there's demo tables there as well, so that's a lovely thing to do. I just wish there was something that you could do where it just dropped through your letterbox or something like that.
It would be really good if, you could just sign up on a website and just fill out a form and get a box delivered with all the pre-played slips, so you can just send it back after you've played them. Fill out a wish list online. It just would be really good if that existed.
It sounds like a fabulous idea. I just can't believe no one's had it yet. That's the thing.
No, it's just
someone must have done.
Some way of renting games, and obviously games having cards and dice you can shuffle and roll, and you can do whatever you want. I mean, I don't know. Have you heard anything?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm so confused.
Becky, tell us more, Becky.
We do this every week, Craig.
Tell us more.
No, I'm not doing the ad reel. You do it.
Ad reel?
Yes.
What is
Ad
this?
reel?
I have no idea what you're talking about. Have you ever heard?
Partnership. There we go. The slogan.
Oh God, yeah.
Here.
Hashtag ad. I'm sorry. That is correct. Getting to Games on Air is sponsored by Rent, Shuffle and Roll. Rent, Shuffle and Roll, a wonderful board game rental company based here in Old Blighty. You can rent board games monthly, and you can use code GITG50, that's GITG50, to get 50% off your first month's board game rental. Isn't that exciting?
Yeah.
That is exciting. I'm pleased.
Yeah, I quite like that.
In all
Yeah.
seriousness, I'm not paid to say this. Only Craig is. But Rent, Shuffle and Roll do offer an amazing service, and it is a lovely way to experience new board games in the comfort of your own home. And I would have a subscription, but I have a lot of games to play. But if I didn't have a lot of games that's sitting on my shelves ready to be played, I would absolutely use their service.
How big is your shelf of, what do you call it? Shelf of shame? Shelf of opportunity?
I have a shelf of shrink. So I find that opening a new board game is a great dopamine hit. And ripping that shrink off and seeing what's inside is amazing. So I don't do that until I'm ready to actually learn the rules and play it.
Okay.
And therefore, I have a shelf of shrink because they are in shrink wrap. If I haven't played them, or I'm not about to play them, they're in shrink wrap. And I find that's a really good incentive to try and not let them sit there too long in shrink. How big is my shelf of shrink? Let's see. I have not played Let's Go to Japan. That was a Kickstarter delivery. It's now available at retail, and I haven't played it. I thought, that would be a good one to play before everyone else with all the deluxe components. I haven't played it. That's ridiculous. So that's there. I've got Bamboo. I got given for my birthday. That's another game. And Pioneer Rails was delivered by Kickstarter. I have played that, but I haven't played my copy, so that's still in shrink, so sort of doesn't count. I have got Dinosaur World still in shrink wrap from its Kickstarter delivery, which is embarrassing. I have got the Snallygaster Situation, which is a co-op that Shelley got given. That's still in shrink wrap. I have got. I'm going to say probably double that. Let's go 10 to 15 games in shrink.
See, we have the opposite problem. We get the games, we like to tear open the shrink and have a good look, and then they sit in a big pile, waiting for the time to be played.
Maybe we need to leave some
I think
stuff
we've
in
got
the
I think we've got 8, maybe.
Yeah, I think we could probably go back.
Not too bad. We try to get them to the table as quickly as possible.
I'm trying to do better, but I'm also trying to play more of my collection. So this year, I've only played 50% of my collection, and I think, that's good. It's nuts.
I think it's really important that you still play those, the games that you got 2-3 years, because there's some really good games in our collection that don't get to the table as much because we're constantly going, I want to play this new game. I want to play this new game. But actually, there are some beautiful games that, should
And we
get
just
to the
keep
table
playing
more.
Enchanted Forest. It's really weird. I don't know why.
But that's why your hashtag's so good, isn't it? Too long.
It's been too long Tuesday. Hashtag it's been too. Yeah, it's been too long Tuesday. It's catchy. It's short. That's one of its advantages. I do love it. It really. I only created it for me. It was nice other people joined in, but it really was just for me because I was finding I was getting caught up with the shiny and new, and there were some great games that had been sitting on my shelf for too long. And so I thought, if I can do this and make this work, that would be fabulous.
I think it's good as well. I mean, like, not just from a point of you just should play your games. If you've got games, play them. Don't worry about buying new shiny ones because there's great games behind. Like these games behind me, there's some great games that have just sat there for so long. But it's also good as if you are into like Instagram and content creating and stuff like that. Actually gives you an incentive to make content on something you haven't played in a while. So it's actually a good. That's the only reason I do these hashtags because it's an impetus to create content, and I'm a bit of a content whore, and I don't swear. Yeah, I don't swear. No, I just make stuff, and it just gives me an impetus just to keep going and just.
You also say that we can't get rid of stuff because it would make good content, and I'm like, but it's not a great game. Can we get rid of it?
It's like
but
Orbis.
It's got a really cool thing that I want to take pictures of.
Orbis is really pretty. You're like, get rid of it, but it's pretty.
Yeah, I had a similar conversation about Takenoko. That did leave our collection last year. It's a beautiful game, it's an okay game. It's an okay game. It's a good game, but it's not great, and I wasn't playing it enough to say I should own this. And I think a lot of people keep Takenoko because it's got a cute panda in it.
Mm-hmm.
Flamecraft is another one that a lot of people, and I haven't got rid of Flamecraft. I'm desperate to play it with my two boys now. They're a little bit older to see whether it works with them. But that is a game that a lot of people bought just for some Dragon minis.
Yeah. I think as well, there's like, and especially where we're quite lucky, especially in the UK, I think we've got quite a tight, like a nice circle of gaming friends and gamers. Like this weekend, we had some friends over playing games. You went and had a games meet up, and sometimes you think, well, if they've got it, I can play with them when I see them, kind of thing. It's like, for example, the Takenoko thing. Like Gareth, Board Game Meeple isn't a million miles away from you, and he's got the giant version of Takenoko. So if you're going to play a version, play his.
There's a few games of Gareth that I loved playing, but I also went, the only people I'm ever going to play this with is Gareth. So and he's got a copy, and our friends Vic and Cole, again, they have a certain, and it's like, we're only ever going to play this with Vic and Carl, so we don't need to own it as well. This is ludicrousy.
Yeah. I think that's happened with my sister as well, because she had lots of games, and then we just decided, actually, if you've got that, we don't need that, and we'll just swap every so often. Share the love of the board games. Well, I had loads of questions, but it's like 1 hour and 18.
Go on.
Are we carrying on, or...
Well, there's always another day. I'm happy to,
maybe we should save it up.
We could
get Nick and Shelley on next time.
We could.
I don't share the limelight with anyone.
Oh.
Okay.
It's all about me.
It's true.
All about me. It's not about anyone else.
Because I wanted to talk about teaching board games and ScootCon and all of that business. So we'll have to do a part 2.
I think it's been a beautiful episode about board game reviewing. I think
it has.
Yes.
And we will save all the other stuff for another day.
Yeah, so thank you very much for listening. Oh, so it's all about Nick, so hold on. Thank you very much for listening to
board game
Get
menu.
Into Nick on Air.
He hasn't done his board game
menu.
He hasn't done his board game menu.
Oh, what? Hello.
Hello. Oh, sorry, I'm going under a tunnel.
I'm out.
We ask all of our lovely guests for a board game menu. That's a starter, a main course, and a dessert in a board game fashion. Do you have such a menu for us?
No.
Oh,
Could you
that's
think of
embarrassing.
one?
A bit awkward, isn't it? I do listen to your podcast, and I had a feeling this was coming. But the big one, I always want to know: should it be food related? Like, or I'm going to go for a point salad starter,
Oh,
and then go, let's have dinner in Paris after that, and then we'll have kawaii ice cream for pudding. So it's like, that's a meal. Or maybe cockroach poker for a starter, because aren't we all going to be eating bugs these days? Isn't that
That's
the way to save the world?
Yeah.
I'm not going to dinner at his house.
Sign me up.
Yum. Or do you want like what I would play in an evening?
I think you can interpret it in any way you wish.
Okay. I will go for a starter of Far Away. I think it's a lovely game to start an evening with. Then we will move into The Planet Unknown. It's got a lazy Susan, so at least it's got that sort of Chinese meal kind of vibe into it. And then pudding. The trouble is, the pudding is a difficult one to follow Planet Unknown. And that was the one I was struggling with the most, because I don't know what I'd follow Planet Unknown with, but I guess you'd have to do some drafting. So I'm going to go with Ecosystem. It's a nice little drafter, easy to just play, and so they're going to be my main tonight. Mm-hmm. Of course, you need a little aperitif and catcheroo or kangaroo, mate. We could be playing that after dinner. It'll be Bonza, just as a little nightcap,
Oh my God, that's amazing.
I liked it.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
Yeah, really
I'm
good.
excited.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
I'm going to get in the car and drive down to Nick's.
Right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll block you in.
And with the car? No, wait a minute. No, that's...
Get into games.
Yeah.
Turn up pillows.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for joining us on this.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a blast.
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you, everyone, for listening. Please remember to use code GITG50 with rentshuffleandroll.co.uk. And please remember to follow Nick at Boardgamereviewuk on all of those socials, as well as check out the website, subscribe to the newsletter. I think there is one. Is there one? Yeah,
there is. One. Yeah, occasionally I send a newsletter too, but you won't be bombarded in your mailbox. That's
You'll get a Christmas greeting.
Yeah, maybe in March.
You'll get a Christmas greeting in March. Cool. And that's everything. So thank you all so much for listening. Please leave a rating or a review. Tell a friend about the podcast. Make them listen. Force them to. Tie them to a chair. Put headphones on them. And make... What?
None of that.
Sorry. Just comment, it's all about Nick. Thanks.
Yeah. Oh, and yes. And remember, it's all about... Yeah, if you comment, it's all about Nick, whether it's on the post on Instagram, on the Apple Podcasts, more people will listen and love it. So thank you very much. And we'll see you on the next one. And remember to get into Nick. Oh.
No.
Yeah.
When in Rome.
Remember to get into board game reviews?
Yes.
There we go.
Yes.
No, get into games.
Oh.
There we go.
Thanks, everyone.
Get into games.
See you later. Bye.